And tonight we're back to the story about Africa's largest salt mine. Tonight on the front burner is the issue of the Songo Lagoon Clashes. That's the focus of our conversation tonight, following renewed tension in the community. Ever since 2021, there's been tension in that strip, and the reason is simple: because of the salt mining which is taking place over there. You see the visuals right on the screens now, giving you a sense of what happened in just the last few days. A CCTV camera capturing at the very moments, of course, some individuals moved into the premises of Electrochem as part of the Magdan group of companies, the company controlling one of the largest salt mines across Africa. We'll tell you about this out story, which has characterized that mining concession ever since it was given in 2021. So let's get to it, because many of you are asking the question as to what you need to know, when it all started, and why, of course, there are concerns about mining taking place on that space. Now, way back in 2021, the Parliament of Ghana decided to, of course, give out a concession on the Songo Lagoon front, and that was given to Electrochem. We'll get into the details for you shortly. But ever since that decision was made in 2021, for the last 3 years, there's been unrest in the community, of course, stemming from the youth and some irate individuals who believe that they've been treated unfairly, a reason for which they are asking government, and they've been asking other authorities, including the Member of Parliament for the area, to intervene. And so this is what we're looking at now in terms of the area that's been under dispute. The parcel of land that we're talking about at the site for the mining involves a 41,000 acre of land. That's what we're talking about in terms of the size. But of course, there are some disputes arising out of that because the claim by the company mining on that concession, they believe that as far as Parliament is concerned, this is what was given to them in 2021 by the Parliament of Ghana. But of course, some other concerns are emerging, which led to some clashes that we heard of. Deaths, at least one confirmed, because each time the reports come out, the companies deny, and of course the other actors within the space deny the fact that someone has lost their lives. So we are not able, or are we in the position to confirm the deaths? But what we can confirm is that indeed at least one person has lost their life as a result of mining taking place on the Songo Lagoon stretch. And that's why, of course, the renewed tension is beginning to raise eyebrow and concerns about public safety and the safety of people within the community. Take a look at this. The MP for the area has been there in the last few days and, of course, has been granting interviews on this very platform. Some of the key issues and concerns she's been raising. This is Doyo Ganza Kujo, who's the MP for Adam. So just take note of her, because she's a leading figure in Parliament. Of course, the deputy or second deputy, now majority whip in Parliament. And she believes that as far as she's concerned, the concession that was granted by the Parliament of Ghana, Electrochem, allegedly is overstepping their bounds. And you can see the quotes there, part of the reason why, of course, she went back into the community and promising the people that some of the indigents may have to occupy the places that Electrochem is operating in. We're not in a position now to verify those documents, but as far as she's concerned, as a Member of Parliament, Electrochem appears to be exceeding their concession that was granted to them. Beyond that as well, there's this new claim that is coming up from the Member of Parliament, who now believes that even tourist areas and some of the areas that are strategic for the community, for tourism activities, that area also allegedly is being acquired by the same company, which is part of the Magdan group of companies. So that's why tonight we're having that conversation, to try and see why there's renewed tension within the area, and what it is that the authorities are doing about it, and what's the story of Electrochem itself, because ever since this mining concession was granted to the company, they've been having a really hard time trying as much as possible to improve on the activities, because the claim is that investment is being affected now, and some other assets of the company is under siege. Here's the point by Electrochem, because as far as they're concerned, all of these claims, the claims that they are taking advantage of the tourist areas, of course, going beyond their concession granted to them, this is their story tonight, because they believe that, first of all, if you're dealing with what it is that the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana approved for them, it is a total of some 41,000 acres of land. And to Electrochem, that is what they have control over. But due to what they are terming as benevolence, guess what? Some 1,000 acres of land has been released from that same concession of Electrochem back to the community. That's their story. We'll verify all of that tonight. And beyond that as well, CSR is coming in because they've been doing some corporate social responsibility, granting scholarship schemes to needy students. They claim that also there's also the issue about provision of potable water to the community, which Electrochem says is taking upon himself, or themselves, I should say, and they've been supplying that ever since the concession was granted in 2021. So you take a list of those 4 key messages coming from Electrochem, and that's really at variance with what it is that the Member of Parliament has been claiming. The fact that, of course, they've gone beyond the concession grants, and also they are taking advantage of the tourist areas within the beachfront, because this is a strategic piece of area that costs so much, not just to the community, but investors that are working within the space. So this is the story of Electrochem. But the question is, why do we keep having the unrest in the area? And of course, how do we ensure that we resolve the unrest of Africa's largest salt mine? That's on the agenda tonight on PM Express. I am Blessed Sugan. Welcome to the show. When we get back, I'm speaking to the Chief Executive of the McDan Group, who's joining me tonight on PM Express, and also taking the security perspective of Dr. Benjamin Agojo. He's a former commissioner, assistant commissioner of police. Will be taking his thoughts on some of the varied security concerns emerging from the place. Be my guest on PM Express. Welcome. We'll be back. And thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. This is PM Express with me, Blessed Sugan. Don't forget that we're supported by Syntex Tanks, tough, strong. That's the message they are sending across tonight. Pepsodent is also on board with their cavity fighter. You need to be purchasing that product as well, so you can take care of your dentition. And Academic Times is also indicating to you that they have a number of their publications coming up shortly. You all need to be on the lookout for the journal, which is launching soon. 3 distinctive ones, of course, the graphic publications. They also have the journal that will showcase and empower students across all the education levels. So be on the lookout for the Academic Times. Is coming up shortly. And of course, your favorite channel, Joy News, will be here to update you on all of that. The focus tonight is on the Ada Songo Lagoon. And of course, Electrochem, as I pointed out, has been stating their side of the story in the wake of recent attacks on Africa's largest salt mine. But what's their story, and how do we resolve the unrest over this area? Joining me tonight is Chief Executive of the McDan Group, Kweku Amprofi, who's my guest tonight. Welcome, sir. It's good to see you. And also joining us via Zoom later on will be Dr. Benjamin Agojo, who's a former Assistant Commissioner of Police. There's a need for us to look at the security concerns emerging in the area and how to resolve that effectively. We'll deal with that shortly. But Kweku, it's a pleasure to have you in studio, and of course, quite a very busy day for you, looking at the facts, checking again the records, just to be sure if indeed what's been given to you by Parliament is indeed 41,000 acres of land. Let's get to it then. What's your side of the story? And of course, I've given a sense to our viewers that what you claim ownership over is a parcel of area that's covering about 41,000 acres of land. But the claim from the Member of Parliament now is that you are overstepping your bounds. What's your story?
Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here. And hi to your listeners as well. So to address your question directly, I always find it perplexing when I hear her say that, mainly because the concession or the lease agreements were actually ratified by Parliament, of which she's a member. On the dates that the ratification was done, she was actually in Parliament. And since we've had these conversations, she's always been part of it. Last year, Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament set up a joint committee to look into these matters. We met with the joint committee several times, and every time she was part of it.
Right.
There were several times that these committees came to the site to inspect the work for themselves and see what was happening. And she was always part of it. She's always known. Right. There are no secrets to these things. Documents are in Minerals Commission. Right. If you want to find it, you can find it. I actually have right in front of me the 3 leases. So,
and just a bit of some clarity on that. You're just pointing to 3.
That's correct.
She points to 12,000 acres, a reason for which she believes the excess is far beyond your control. You're pointing to 3. How come 3?
So there are 3 leases in the concession that Minerals Commission's issued. Right. She's always referring to the first one. So there are what we call 3 sectors. There's a Sector A, Sector B, and a Sector C. The first sector is the 12,000 acre that she keeps referring to. For those the few people in Adan who do not want Electricum's presence, they would rather have just that portion given to Electricum and not the other concessions, the other leases that have been granted. But there are actually 3 of them. So if you look at the documentation, the land documentation, there are actually 3 of them. So there's what we call Sector A, there's Sector B, and then there's a Sector C. The Sector A is in Adan West. That's where our offices are actually located. Then there's a Sector B that spans mostly Adan West and a little bit of Adan East. And then there's a Sector C, which is exclusively Adan East. So there are 3 of them. Right. I'm also here with a document, which is the report of the Joint Committee of Mines and Energy and Lands and Forestry. This is a joint committee between the 2 parties that was set up last year by the Speaker of Parliament. The document is dated July 2024. Right. If you read this document, just the first pages, you don't even have to go too far into it. If you look at the reference documents that Parliament used, there are 3 documents that I'll talk about. There are quite a bunch of them, but there are 3 that I'll talk about. One is the report to the Select Committee on Mines and Energy on the ratification of the 3 mining leases in respect of the Adan Songo Salt project, dated the 4th day of November 2020. So right off the bat, it's referencing 3 leases. Then it goes on to say, the next document it references is the 3 mining lease agreements between the Government of Ghana and Electrichem Ghana Limited, dated 29th day of October 2020. The last document that I'll talk about, which is very interesting, is the resolution of Parliament ratifying the 3 mining lease agreements dated 6 November 2020. So it's not just that these concessions or these leases were granted. It's also that Parliament actually ratified all 3 of them. And through that process, our honorable member was part of it. She was in Parliament. Right. She knows everything that went on. There's no debate about it. So to keep referring to just one
So is it your permutation that if you're to put all the concessions, 3 separate ones, granted at 3 separate times together, we should be arriving at 41,000 acres?
So they were granted at the same time?
Yes.
But yes, if you put all 3 together, it's 41,000 acres.
Per your own permutation?
Per Minerals Commission's documentation.
And what's backing that? Because she's pointing to 12,000. You're doing your own permutation, I guess, on the acres.
It's not my permutation that I'm doing. These are documents from Minerals Commission. These are backed by ratification from Parliament, of which she's a member of. So it's not my permutation. It was legally documented, and that was granted. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Since 2021, correct? This was the period at which it was given. There's been unrest over the area. Your assets have been vandalized, you've been attacked, some workers have been injured in the process. Don't you feel that there's something untoward going on, perhaps?
There's definitely something untoward going on. It's quite perplexing that you would look at a company, a private company, that's invested over $100 million in a project. And it would have such hatred among just a few people.
You're calling it hatred?
Dislike, hatred. Probably semantics. You can use any word for it. Right. But there are a select few who obviously do not want Electrichem to be there for whatever interest that they have. Only God knows. But the truth is that there are always a few people who are doing this. It's not like the entire Adan is against Electrichem. The entire traditional council of Ada backs this project. I don't know if you're aware, just your TV station just documented the entire press conference that they did just a couple of days ago after we were attacked and vandalized. The entire traditional council stands behind Electricam. The entire Ada, most of the citizens, the majority of the citizens stand behind Electricam. But you have a few unscrupulous people who probably have their own interests. I don't know what interests they have, but who are always against the project. And those are the guys who are hiring thugs and vandalizing and causing all this havoc and causing all this trouble. So it's not a mass, revolt against Electricam. It's just a few people who decide that they don't want to see us there, and so they keep causing.
But it's incessant. It keeps happening, and I guess that's why it's prompting a number of concerns and debates across the country. You're giving 41,000 acres of concession that contains salt, right? Salt is by far one of the most precious minerals. I mean, speaking of the kind of minerals that we have in this country. Are you not alarmed that perhaps it's just your company that's controlling this? Perhaps the indigents feel that they are being left out in a way, a reason for which we're seeing the unrest. Do you get some of these concerns?
We do. And so when the company acquired these concessions, we didn't just sit on the entire 41,000 acres and decide that, look, we have 41,000, we're going to mine 41,000 acres. So to correct something, in the first place, the 41 acres encompasses the Songo Lagoon. Okay. So it's not 41,000 acres of land.
That you're controlling in time. Right.
Correct. Now, the portion of it where we have designed to mine, so we create what we call pans, or what we call crystallizers. The portion of it that we have decided to mine on is only 7,000 acres. Now, we have also done two schemes. I know that in your prelude you had said that we have 1,000 acres, but it's actually not 1,000 acres, it's actually 2,000 acres. Okay. So we have two scheme programs that we have adopted. One is what we call the Community Pan Initiative. Right. So the Community Pan Initiative is essentially we create pans. So everywhere that we create commercial pans, before we create our commercial pans, we create what we call community pans, which come in before we create our commercial pans. And in the community pans, we engineer these pans. So if you go to Ada right now and you see how the locals mine, it's a very crude, unhygienic way that they do what they call a chapel, which is pretty much illegal mining in another form, in salt form. But what we do is that we bring our engineering to bear, and we create all these community pans before we create our commercial pans. So every community we mine in, we create these for them. So out of that land that we have, the little bit that we have, we've allocated 1,000 acres to community pans. Now, community pans, per the name, are owned and operated by the communities. So we don't come in to manage for them, we don't own it, but we create it for them. We also supply them free brine, which is the salt water that is used to make salt. So we provide all that free of charge for the communities. Now, some of the folks who were against the project came up and said, well, we don't want to mine with everybody else. We don't like these community pans. We want to have our own pans. So we created another scheme that we used to call the outgrower scheme. Right. But Minerals Commission came in and said, you can't call it outgrower. You're not growing salt. Yeah. So they call it the tributor system or the tributor scheme. In the tributor scheme, we've allocated another 1,000 acres. Now, mind you, we're only doing 7,000, but we've given out 2,000. Now, the outgrower scheme or the tributor scheme is supposed to target businesses. So you can start a business, or locals can start businesses, apply, get a demarcation of land, and there they can mine this.
Within the 2,000?
Within the 2,000,
right.
Exactly. Now, so far we've received 50 applicants or 50 applications. We've approved 17 of them. So these are commercial, purely commercial. When they mine, they can choose to sell the salt to whoever they want to sell to. If they don't have a market for it, a ready market, we have opted to even offtake for them. So we've pretty much set everything. So it's not like Electricam has come in and taken 41,000 acres and we're mining the entire 41,000 and the locals don't have anything to mine.
How much jobs are you, or how many jobs, I should be saying, how many jobs are you creating within the community? Because most of the time you find the youth being part of the rampage, right? Attacking the firm most of the time. Do you feel that you're giving them enough opportunities on the concession?
So during our mining season, or we call our harvest season, we need a minimum of 5,000 miners or 5,000 workers to be on the mine to work for us. We do not even have enough people in Adan to mine for us. To the extent that in December, when we needed extra hands, we had to go to another town in the Volta region, just on the boundary, called Luta, to bring in more workers to mine in our salt pans.
Oh, you don't even have enough supplies from the community?
We do not have enough. We don't get enough. So in terms of...
And it's because the youth do not want to mine on your concession?
Not on our concession. Not everybody wants to mine.
Right.
It's a bit tough. It's not an easy job. So not everybody wants to mine. People want to do other things. But we've created 5,000 jobs that are openly available today. If you want to mine, you can come in and mine. Now, we pay them very well. They get very good salaries, paid weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. So in terms of job creation, as I said, we've created 5,000 openings as we speak. That is what we've created so far. Right. Now, in addition to that, it's not just the mining. Now, Electrochem obviously is currently a salt production company, but we're going to move beyond salt production into value add. We're setting up a refinery. If you come to our site, just a few, just about a kilometer from our entrance, we're setting up a refinery. That is a refinery that will be refining the salt that we produce. Not just we produce, but anyone in the community who wants to refine their salt can bring their salt there and refine. That's another level of job creation. Next year, we're setting up a caustic soda plant, bringing an investment of about $85 million to set up a caustic soda plant. That would also employ people. In 2026, we want to set up an industrial park where we create the industrial park and anyone who wants to invest can come in, get some space, and use salt as a raw material to create any derivative.
That's your long-term vision, except that now you have political interference. The fear is that if care is not taken, you may have some of your operations affected due to the seeming political tension that is brewing. Are you mindful of that? And are you worried that possibly you may experience some more setbacks?
Well, I don't know if political tension is the right word for it, because I don't see a party that has made it a mandate for them to cause havoc. Of course, you do have an MP who is, spreading misinformation, and so we needed to address that. That's why I'm here today. So yes, we do have some factions or some people who decide to spread, false information. Are we scared that there's a political backlash? We're not too worried about the political side of it, if there is, but we do have, we did have an attack on us 9th January, just a few days ago. The crazy thing is that attack or that threat hasn't completely been annihilated. Today we received intel. There's another planned attack coming in tomorrow. So we've beefed up security. We have the military presence. We have good military presence there. We have police on alert. Our security are ready. However, that threat still keeps coming up to the extent that, as I said, we have intel that there's a planned attack coming in tomorrow.
Do you feel protected enough by the Ghana Police Service and the other security agencies?
I think they're doing what they can do. The police in the place have adopted more of an engagement approach. So they're trying to engage the community, calm things down. Not the community as a whole, but the few people who are trying to cause havoc. Now, the other thing I would also want to say is that most of the people there causing trouble are not even indigents of Adan. They're people who've been bashed from Ashaman, Fadama, and all these other places.
Really?
I'm telling you on authority. So it creates the impression that, there are a lot of people who are against the project, but it's not, because most of these guys have been bashed from outside Sege, outside Adan, who are coming in to cause trouble. We have intel on the ground, so we pick these things up, and so we know. And then we have people who also know people, so we can tell. So definitely, the threats isn't completely vanquished.
Okay. I see. And of course, it must be troubling times for you. There are two issues I would want us to touch on. The fallouts from the meeting with the Mines and Energy Committee last year, somewhere mid last year. We'll get to that. But I want to bring in Dr. Benjamin Agojo, who's also with us tonight. And Doc, you've been watching some of the images come through, the attack, consistent attack on Electrochem and the salt mine. The belief is that tension is on the rise. And if care is not taken, this may become a spillover effect. What's your own thoughts on this in the context of security? And kindly unmute for us so we can hear the points you're sharing with us there.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, and welcome again to PM Express. The question about security and what we need to be doing.
Yes, I'm really impressed with the kinds of responses that the CEO, right, has given, particularly talking about the community engagement approach of the police. Because I was going to mention that, but when he came up with that, I was really impressed. What I can say for now is that beyond the physical security that they are providing with soldiers and the police and other things, I think that we just have to go deeper into the human security aspect to find out what really are the remote causes of this. Listening to him, I've also found out that there are spaces for other people to work, and also they have created about 5,000 jobs. And so I keep asking myself, what is the problem? He also mentioned that the traditional chiefs and other things are with them. At least they have their support and other things. I would like to find out whether they really regularly also engage the youth. And if they do, what do they think that they've engaged them collaboratively or just a few set of youth? I cannot agree completely that everybody who is creating this problem is from outside Ada. If they are from outside Ada, are there any arrests that have been made? What have they done? Some prosecutions. Because listening to him, the police are there, the military are there. Have they made a number of arrests over the years? Have they done some prosecutions? If they've not done any prosecutions, then it means that these are the things that are triggering the incessant attacks on them. And we need to look beyond some of these physical security that they are providing. But I love the aspect of continuous engagement and the fact that they are always working with the chiefs and other things. But I think there is something that we have not yet been able to identify, and I'm also interested in the aspect that you were mentioning, political tension.
Right.
Who is bringing up the political tension? The MP? If it is the MP, then it means that we have identified the cause, and then we can find a way to deal with that challenge. This is an MP who I'm sure was re-elected. It means that this MP is popular with the people over there. If she wasn't popular, I don't know whether it's a she, if she wasn't popular, I don't think that she would have gotten elected again. So we need to do a lot more engagement with the MP as well as a means of engaging the community much more, and to also educate the community about what they stand to gain, not just the immediate need of the jobs that they have created, and also make them understand the bad image that they are giving to the community. I think these are
right. And I see that you're harping more on the issue about human security, but how about, security upfront? Hearing from the likes of the Ghana Police Service, the military, they keep coming out that indeed they're doing the very best, but do you see any lapses there?
Personally, looking at these pictures, images, just based on these images,
right,
I cannot see the police presence there. At least maybe I'm not seeing, but others are seeing. But these are CCTV cameras that have captured this. It should be possible for the police to use this even these CCTV cameras to effect some arrest, to identify some of the culprits. But I cannot see the police very well over there. Maybe the pictures are blurred, but I cannot see the police presence there, which means that the numbers are not satisfactory. Physical presence of the police are not very satisfactory. And beyond the physical, using the uniform and other thing, I think we must also get some undercover police officers to move around and pick information that they can process into intelligence so that they can actually get these people arrested, because they can mingle with them and yet in the process get them arrested. So there are a lot of strategies that are available for electoral chem to use.
Some will take you on that point to say this is a private investment. Why does it deserve, state protection?
Private investment also deserves it. At least it brings income to the state, it brings income to themselves, and also they pay taxes and other things. And they may have applied. Remember, even as an individual, you could apply for police protection, and if we have the resources, we could avail you with it. Looking and we do assessment of your situation, we could do it. And so with this huge investment, I don't think that it's out of place for electoral chem to have police presence there. And I'm sure that they are paying. The banks pay and all those things. So these are the internally generated funds that the police get. And I'm sure that they are not doing it for free. And so if the police identify that this is an area that they should work, that is generating resources, they should do a better assessment of the area and provide more security to ensure that they consolidate the security over there before they begin to withdraw gradually.
And given the incessant nature of the attacks, the fear is that there might be a spillover effect, it might widen. What's your own take on that?
I asked a question earlier because I'm unable to verify this before joining this meeting. Have there been any prosecutions over the years? Because I've been hearing these attacks for some time now. Have there been any arrests and prosecutions over the years? If they have not, then maybe those are some of the things that are encouraging the people. So maybe the CEO need to inform us whether there have been arrests in the past and whether there have been prosecutions. If there have not been arrests and prosecutions, then we need to find out why the police, what work the police have been doing, whether their presence there has been effective after all.
I see. And could you want to take a bite on that? The question as to whether or not you indeed file complaints to the police. Do you do that? What kind of response do you get from the Ghana Police Service on this? Because so far, I don't think there's been any successful prosecution, has there?
So it's a very good question that our brother asked. So going back to the Parliamentary Joint Committee report, if you look at the recommendations that was made by the Parliamentary Committee, they made about 16 recommendations. The first one said, number one, there's no legal or factual basis to review or tinker with the 3 mining leases ratified by this August House on 6th November 22. I just wanted to
point that. Yeah.
Now, the item, the 12th one, they said that all minor criminal complaints associated with salt mining business, which can be resolved between the complainants and the corporates to tone down tension in the salt producing environment. And so basically what they were saying is that if there have been any arrests, we should not, the state should not continue.
And you agreed to that? Yeah, because we recall that the committee then visited, and we captured that here on Joy News. The committee visited you. Did you agree to that recommendation that you are going to let go of all the charges and possibly why no prosecutions have been done?
We actually accepted all the recommendations of the committee. Whether we accept it was ratified by Parliament.
Right.
So, there's no, I don't agree, I disagree kind of a thing. So we did accept all the recommendations. So we didn't push for prosecution. But now that he says it, I don't know if maybe we...
Do you then take responsibility that partly this is happening because of your own inability to push through to file more complaints? In fact, the latest attack that occurred in the last few days, have you filed a complaint with the Ghana Police Service? And what response are you getting on that?
So to your first one, no. What it did say here was minor infractions,
right.
not
major
crime
right.
or criminal activity. That is between the states and the perpetrators.
Right.
So that we can't influence. The police has to make that decision, or the prosecutor has to make that determination. Now, to this one that just happened on the 9th, I don't believe the police have made arrests yet, even though they're still gathering information, still gathering data. They've pulled most of the data that we have, and they're still doing their investigations on it. So I'm not sure, and I do not believe that any arrests have been made so far on the ones that happened.
Okay. ACP Agojo, you have a response there. So far, no prosecutions. Do you feel that's what's...
No prosecutions.
Right.
I think that is what is... So there's no deterrence. No prosecution, so no deterrence. So the impunity continues. My advice is that somehow, I agree, maybe initially they wanted to have this peaceful coexistence so that these matters could be resolved among the electoral camp and then the community. And that was good initially. But as time goes on, as we progress, we see these things becoming unbecoming. And therefore, there is a need to take another step to review, in my opinion, to review that agreement and find a way of dealing. You can still do prosecution while still doing engaging the community, because the community cannot continue to do that. By the way, you are even telling us that these people are not from the community. And if they are not from the community, so what prevents us from prosecuting them? If they are not from the community, then what prevents us from prosecuting them? They are coming from Nima, they are coming from all kinds of places, they are coming from Shama. Let's assume that they are even coming from Qatar, Akachi, or somewhere. They are being used by some other people. Let us activate that arrest and prosecution and then see whether these things will continue. Whilst we continue engaging the people, and then these things, I'm sure, let's review that agreement, because that's not helping us. And it's not helping the community. And I'm happy to note that the traditional leaders are with you. The youth groups are with you. Only few people. So why don't you deal with these few people?
I see. Interesting.
And if we continue this way, it will mean that, you see, it will energize their front. And one day, you may, I mean, God forbid, they may end up even setting fire, setting this whole place ablaze. And what will you do? Please, we have to take preemptive measures to beef up security, and also not just to beef the security, but also to ensure that the law takes its course whilst we continue alongside the community engagement.
Right. Interesting points there. Doc, just hold on for me. There's this aspect we need to move to. The agreement as it stands, of course, government has the ultimate say in whether or not it will do some review or perhaps further engagements on this matter. But what's your posture on this? A possible review to include maybe some more community minors or another approach? What are you open to as a company?
We're open to what Parliament recommended, which is the first of the recommendation, that there's no legal or factual basis to review or tinker with the 3 mining leases ratified by the House.
And you stand by that?
It's Parliament's document.
But you're a business as well, and you know why I'm asking the question, obviously.
It's Parliament's document, so obviously,
right.
yeah, absolutely, I stand by it. But as I said, we've already given more of the concession land out, and we still continue to do so. So it's not an issue of whether there's enough land for other people to mine or not to mine. Now, mind you, we don't just give out land for people to mine. We also provide them the engineering, we provide them the brine, which is very crucial, and then also, obviously, they are benefiting from all the other infrastructure that we've created within our concession. So there's a lot for more folks to gain. There's no, they're not losing out. There actually is more to gain.
Okay.
If you look at just one quick comment. Right. If you put all the land that we've, or the pans that we've created for the community, and under the tributor system, if you put that together, you are looking at revenue for the locals who handle these portions of land of about $135 million per annum. So it's not easy money. it's quite significant. So for those who want to take advantage of it, definitely they're taking advantage of it and benefiting. But there's something that Honorable Muntaka said when he visited the site.
Right.
He said, if it benefits somebody not to understand, like if your survival is based on not understanding, why would you want to understand?
So you feel that's possibly where the challenge is coming from. What would you do if there's an executive order to now tinker, and I'm using the parliamentary term now, with the concession that you have, 41,000 acres, government decides to reduce it to 12,000, 20,000, 30,000. How much are you willing to take? And what will you do about that?
I don't think there's any legal basis for it. Actually, as part of Parliament's review, they actually reviewed that. There's actually some precedent. I'm not going to go into the legal base. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not going to go into that. But I'm not sure there's any legal basis for it.
If it does happen?
I don't think it will happen.
If it happens?
I don't believe it will happen.
And the government decides to take an action on that, to review portions of the lease that you have, what would you do?
I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen, honestly, because it's not beneficial for anyone. Because you're going to, I mean, on what basis are you doing that? And how are you ratifying it? How are you, editing it? So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the government will do that. And it's not in anybody's interest for that to happen.
Okay. Many will be surprised if I don't ask you this question about, media reports concerning human rights issues that some persons have told the Fourth Estate, for instance, which is the latest work or piece of journalistic work that's been done on the salt mine. You've heard some of these complaints. Are you complicit of any form of abuse, forceful evacuations, or something that you're doing to indigents, which might be creating more tension within the area? You've seen these reports.
I'm actually waiting for a single indigent to claim that they've been relocated, they've been displaced, or they've even been resettled. We have not done that to a single person. So as I told you, the concession is 41,000 acres, but we only mine in 7,000 acres. The reason we mine in just that portion is that there are hamlets, there are settlements all over the place. Everywhere that there's a settlement, we do not create pans. We leave that to the people who live there. So we do not create pans. We have never relocated anyone. We've never resettled anyone. We've never displaced a single person. And I'm waiting for anyone to bring proof against that. So that it's never happened before. And we have no intent of doing that. Absolutely not.
ACP Agojo, the point about community involvement, how do we get the community to be more involved, at least to understand that this firm is contributing to the economy, not just of the locality, but the entire nation?
Yes, the CEO has already indicated the support that they are getting from the key stakeholders over there. And so it is the regular community meetings. They could just have a regular community meeting, amongst the people, and then that will keep happening regularly, and that will lead to some form of education. And once that education begins to go, deeper and deeper, you begin to get these people on your side. I'm really interested in the issue of human rights abuses, and I'm also fascinated by the response he gave that there hasn't been any forceful evacuation of the people. I think that there is some kind of false information or false alarm that is being perpetrated by some unknown people. You can call them spoilers when it comes to conflicts and other things. Somebody has some interest that we have not been able to identify and bring on board as a major stakeholder. And therefore, that person is trying to use his or her influence to negatively affect this their work. This is what they must try to identify. Somebody is somewhere that has not been brought on board. Somebody very influential. Somebody who may be in the community, definitely, who may be so influential that he could even commandeer people from outside to come and just cause some challenge and go back, just to prove a point that he's not been involved in all this as part of the community engagement. I think there is something we have not been able to identify.
I see. And grateful that you're always spending time with us, ACP Agojo, on this matter. If there's a message for the community, what would you want them to know? And why should they believe in the Electrochem story?
The Electrochem story is not a story for just Electrochem. It's not even a story for just Ada. It's a story for Ghana. It's a story for Africa. Electrochem has invested a lot in the community, not just for itself, but also to bring the entire community up to a certain standard of living that is commensurate with modern standards. As I said earlier, the vision of the company is not just to produce salt, but is actually to industrialize the entire area and to also bring a lot of employment, to bring development, and also to basically raise the standard of living in the area. We plan on going on the stock market in a few months, at which point it becomes a publicly listed company and everybody can have a share of it and a piece of it. We are looking at doing a lot of things, not just in Ghana, but also across Africa. The product that we have, which is salt or salt derivatives, is not needed just in this country, but globally as well. With Electrochem leading the way, we should expect to see massive improvements in Ada and its environs. Beyond that, we also want to make sure that the country itself is also benefiting from it. Imani actually wrote a policy paper on salt as a commodity in Ghana and what salt could do to bring revenues to Ghana. In their estimate, by 2028, the government of Ghana will be making about $1 billion from just Electrochem's operations, or just in the Ada area. So it's a massive project that would actually uplift everybody's life. My other message to...
And on that, what would you say if someone says something ought to give? Just as the ACP Agojo is saying.
Something is given.
Are you sure about that? Perhaps you're not giving as much as you should be giving.
I'll be hard-pressed to see if anybody wants anything else that they haven't been given. I mean, today in my office, I hosted some of folks from the local, leaders from the local community who we keep engaging. I'm not sure of anything that anybody wants that they haven't received. I actually think our principal shareholder is a bit too generous sometimes. I mean, I don't know of any mine in Ghana, Anglo, Ashanti, Newmont, where you go and a portion of the mine is given to locals to mine. I don't know of anywhere that happens. Minerals Commission told us that it's very unusual when we propose the tributor system to them. But we've gone ahead and given such a large portion of it. I mean, if you have 7,000 acres and you've given over 2,000,
yeah, I see. I can imagine. And speaking about your principal shareholder, Dr. Macaulay himself, how is he feeling now, knowing that there's continuous attack, having putting a lot of cash into this investment?
He's strong. Obviously, he's strong. He's a very strong man, very willed, very determined. He's focused on bringing development to Ada, and nothing's going to waver that decision that he made. Of course, he's worried because with these attacks or with these perceived attacks, there's always a threat of, to life, property, everything else. Our workers or our staff are very important to us. They are number one and the most important to us anytime these things happen. And so that's the reason why the threat that we have even coming up, there is a threat coming in tomorrow. There's some imminent attack coming.
Oh, you've picked up intelligence?
I've picked up intelligence on that, yeah.
People are coming to attack?
People are trying to attack us again tomorrow. So obviously he's not, he's concerned about it, especially for lives. So he's doing everything he can to make sure that these things are vetted. And everybody who is interested comes to the table and gets whatever they want.
I see. Well, we're wrapping up in the next few minutes, but you're not just chief executive for Electrochem, you run the Magdan Group itself. In the last few days, concerns over some other investments you have at the airports, for instance. Is there any update on that? Because the airports company says you still owe them about, is it 3 billion? Dollars, yes. Well, that's the amount.
Million,
Yeah, that's the amount.
Billion.
Right, okay. Million, yes. Well,
I wish I were 3 billion.
maybe. God bless us.
No, so the airport company, I think I shared with your outfit that the cardinal issue that we had was that there were several transactions that several companies had done with Ghana Airport Company, and they had all been bundled into one issue. And we needed them to separate the two issues, all the issues, so we could focus. So they finally agreed to that. We've been in negotiations and dialogue with them all these days. They finally agreed to that. We've gone ahead and done some reconciliation. There were some numbers that weren't fully accurate. We've gone ahead and done all those reconciliations. So we're done now. Hopefully in the next day or two, we should receive the final bill from them that focuses just on the terminal. And we're going to go ahead and clear that. We actually went to Ghana Airport with checks to pay.
So how much are you clearing?
That's between us and Ghana Airport.
Okay,
I'm going to keep
percentage terms, perhaps.
You're a good interviewer.
That's my job anyway.
That's between us and Ghana Airport Company.
Right.
We actually didn't want that to go public. Somebody leaked the information at some point. We're not,
Okay, if you're not willing to give us the figures, when will you resume your operations? I guess that will be...
At the airport?
Yes.
I'm hopeful by the end of this week we should be back.
Certain about that, or maybe?
Pretty certain. As I said, we've concluded on the negotiation, on agreeing on how to pretty much structure the transaction. We've also agreed on what the records are, and whatever we didn't feel was needed to be included has been excluded as well. So now we've agreed on the actual figure.
Right.
So we're going to go ahead and make that payment.
Okay, we need to go. Any final message for those who are attracted to the McDan Group?
It's a strong brand, very strong brand. I think McDan Group doesn't just serve the interest of one person or just a group of people who work in the group. I believe it serves the interests of Ghana as a whole. Just as, if you mention Dangote, everybody knows Nigeria. If you mention Bill Gates, people think US.
Is that what you're aiming at?
We hope to exceed that. Actually.
I see. It's a night. Kuku, thank you for joining us. And Kuku Amprofis, the Chief Executive Officer of the McDan Group. Also grateful to you, Dr. Benjamin Agojo, Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired, for joining the conversation. And thank you too for doing the watching. I'm Blessed Sugan. We'll be back same time next week. Have a good evening.